You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of 21 Questions presented by our great friends at Macadoodles. Listen, they've got a store coming soon in Lee Summit. Make sure you check that out. It should be coming up this month. They're getting really close to an opening. We'll have more details as the time gets closer, but got to check out Macadoodles. Listen, never been there. It's a great experience. It is an experience in itself. You have to, they'll give you taste testing, to make sure you like what you were going to buy before you buy a whole bottle of it. It's a really cool experience. BJ and I did a 21 Questions from the Macadoodles in Osage Beach, which is a beautiful location down there in Osage Beach during the shootout. It was a great time. Lots of people came up, asked us what we were doing, asked us about Macadoodle, stuff like that. So was a great time, and I'm very glad to be joined by my good pal, Jordan Foote. Jordan is the newest member of the KCSN team. This is actually his second official podcast as a KCSN member. He was on the Royals podcast, the mega episode. Go check that out on the Royals channel, KCSN Kansas City Royals, wherever you find your podcast. Jordan, how you doing today, my man?
Buddy, I am thrilled to be back. We chatted on a couple of podcasts over the years.
Yep.
We've been on the same pod a time or two. I'm excited to be back, man. Super thrilled to be aboard at KCSN, and what a better way to jump right in. Obviously, the Royals podcast is fun, but 21 Questions, man, one of, in my opinion, the best there is.
It's a good one. We've got questions from all over the map. Of course, as you expect from 21 Questions here. If you don't know, Jordan and I used to do a podcast together. Roughing the Kicker was a Kansas City Chiefs podcast. We used to do a mailbag too, so this is like going back to our roots, essentially. No better way than get Jordan started here than by doing a mailbag-esque type podcast. So let's get started, Jordan, with this first question here. It's from Casey Chris. Good question here. If the defense keeps playing this well, does Spags get a head coach get more head coaching opportunities this offseason? What do you think?
I don't think so. He might get like an interview at some point down the road. It's not like he's old or anything, so it's not that big of a deal where he's not some 75-year-old defensive coordinator who has no interest in it. But we don't know if he has interest in it. And if it was this Chiefs defense with Tyrann Mathieu, Anthony Hitchens, those guys, maybe he wants to move on. With the youth movement, though, I don't see why he wouldn't want to stick around and see this through, especially if they're playing well. So I doubt it. Not an indictment on Spags. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think it's more personal preference for Spags, right? I think he likes being the defensive coordinator of this team. And, he rightfully so, Eric Bieniemy gets a lot of attention when it comes to the head coaching interviews, but Spags does deserve some attention as well. It seems like we don't really talk about that a whole lot, but he's got that unit working right, and I'm sure the rest of the league is going to take notice. I'm sure he's going to have opportunities. Andy Reid's never going to block a guy from doing an interview.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be something to watch for whether he takes a job or not. We'll see. It's probably going to be one of those things. It's the right place, the right situation, everything like that. And especially he is a little bit older. And I mean, I don't think he's older than Andy Reid, but he is a little bit older in his career, a little further along. So could be one of those situations like that. Now, Jordan, another question here from Zach's Minerax, Peter Y also. Is what we know him as. Again, with the checkup, how does the rest of the NFL feel about the fact that the Chiefs got younger, cheaper, and better this offseason, that they, the other NFL teams, went all in to beat them? And man, can't feel great. You can't imagine that the NFL feels great about that, especially people like to talk about that big Mahomes deal, how it's going to be so cumbersome for the Chiefs. They've seemed to work around it just fine. They didn't even restructure it this offseason, and they're just fine. With how they're not only playing on the field, but financially, even talked about having a little bit more wiggle room this year than in years past. So I think that the league cannot be too thrilled with how the Chiefs are handling everything.
Yeah, no, the league's got to be ticked off. You're going to have the Chargers paying their young quarterback. You're going to have Buffalo already did. You're going to have Cincy paying their guy. You're going to have Baltimore presumably paying Lamar Jackson. If not, somebody else is going to, maybe in the AFC. Like, all these teams saw what the Chiefs were doing, saw what the Chiefs did, saw a point of kind of maybe they're vulnerable a little bit, They still could be. It's only 4 games into the year, small sample size. They could obviously make the playoffs and not be that guy, so to speak. But they're 3-1 through 4 games. They lost to a team that clearly is very inferior to them. So I'm not trying to say the Chiefs like it didn't matter, but didn't matter a ton in terms of how I feel about them. The Chiefs are still a really good team. They beat the Bucks fairly handily. They still have the Super Bowl ceiling. If the Chiefs get there and the rest of the AFC doesn't, if Buffalo, like I said earlier today, I tried to put an egg in Buffalo's basket and there was no more room. They put all their eggs in it for me. Like, dude, those teams, once the money starts rolling, the Chiefs handled it the right way. They had this, what do you want to call it? Soft reset, whatever, not a rebuild year, soft reset. Still might be a Super Bowl team. So like you said, they can't be too happy about that.
Moving on to the next question here. This is from Zach Easy Content Phil McGorkin. Hey, I want to also put out here before we get too far into this. All these questions are coming from our Discord. If you want to be a part of the Discord, if you want to ask us questions for this year program, subscribe to the KCSN Substack. You can find a link to the description and below in the description of the video or the audio podcast. You can sign up $30 a month. We'll get you access to the Discord, get you premium articles from Craig, Kent, Maddie, also get you daily updates from Charles Goldman, and get this part, Jordan. This is a really cool part. I don't know if you know that we do this. 2 free tickets for every home game. You can enter.
Really?
It's basically a raffle.
Okay.
You're entered for a chance to win 2 free tickets to a home game plus entry into the Tickets for Less VIP tailgate. So if you are selected as part of a paid subscriber, that's just another perk that you get entered into for a chance to win 2 free tickets to a Chiefs game, home game all season long. So that's another perk of just subscribing. $30 a month. That's it. That's all it is. We dropped the price from the year 1 to $30 a month in year 2. Lots of great content. Access to the Discord, which is probably my favorite part of the whole thing. It's a great community. You can talk about it. It's like Twitter, but less toxic is what I've seen people describe it as. So it's a really good place to go and talk with other like-minded Chiefs fans. Back to the question, though. Who had the biggest failure of the offseason at this point? I think he's probably talking about other teams around the league, free agency signing, stuff like that. What do you think here, Jordan?
This is going to sound bad or good, depending on who the audience is. You could take your pick of any AFC West team, I think. The Chargers' defensive additions haven't been paying off. They still aren't good. The Broncos, obviously, Nathaniel Hackett's kind of a hack right now. Russell Wilson hasn't been good. The Raiders brought in Josh McDaniels. They haven't done anything. Obviously, teams throughout the league have also underperformed. But heading into the year, the division was supposed to be up for grabs. All the teams were going to win 10 games, yada, yada. You could have all 4 playoff teams, stuff like that. There's one clear playoff caliber opponent and then the rest right now. Probably bigger ones out there. For the sake of the Chiefs podcast, I'll probably go with take your pick of any of those teams.
I was going to say Russell Wilson. He hasn't necessarily looked very good. And the Broncos went from being a quarterback away to being a quarterback away. So not a great signing on their part. They traded away, the franchise Drew Lock
For Mr. Limited.
For Mr. Limited, indeed. Man, we could have a whole podcast about how that dude is the most cringiest human being on this planet. And maybe this is the podcast for it, but I don't think we're going to get into that today.
Well, we could have a Drew Lock pod too. We could have a combo Broncos pod. Yeah.
Man, Drew Lock had that starting job until he got COVID. Yep. He did. He was going to be the starter of that team. It's worked out for the Seahawks, though, because Geno Smith's been absolutely balling. He's been better than Russell Wilson has for a while. Russell didn't play very well at the end of last year. No. It was typical Russell Wilson fashion where he was an MVP candidate for the first, 6 weeks? And then the rest of the weeks, the next 11 weeks, he played garbage. But Geno is playing very well. And I'm happy for Geno to get that going for him. Next question here. Here's a kind of an introspective question from Mike Denny. Quarter of the season is over. Kind of. I mean, it's hard with 17 games now. We'll say it for the sake of it. Mike, we'll round down. Quarter of the season is over. Time for some self-scouting. What sticks out to you on either side of the ball?
Tucker, I want to hear yours first on this.
Okay. I think the running game's been kind of hit or miss, but I think the Buccaneers game really encouraged me. That was a really good defensive front that they did that against. And that's like something that makes me think that maybe this isn't a fluke, right? That maybe them running the ball. Remember when they ran the ball really good against the Bills that one game? And you're
Didn't
like,
Clyde
oh,
have like 300 yards or something? It was insane.
you would think, yeah, I think it was like 125 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was his
It
career, it
wasn't
was a
anything
career
crazy,
high
but
or
still.
something.
Yeah.
And we all thought after that game, we're like, well, this is it. This is where the Chiefs are on the ball. I kind of get the same vibes from this game, but this is a way better front than what the Chiefs have gone up against. Man, I don't know why the offensive line played so bad against Indy. That's so confusing to me because Indy's front not very good. Playing on Thursday night against two bad teams playing on Thursday night. That game is a stinker. Watching the Colts play makes me kind of frustrated that the Chiefs ever lost to the Colts, right? And you're just like, what?
Yep.
What is this team? I saw somebody make like a TikTok about like how the NFL's rigged, and they're like, the NFL's rigged because of this game right here. And I think that's the most ridiculous thing you could ever say. Going back to my main point now about running the football. I'm encouraged by that. They went to more gap schemes than they did zone schemes, and I think that that's really good for this team. I mean, the lab guys broke that down. You could see a huge difference, and that's big. And on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Jalen Watson, dude, he's balling out, and like he wasn't the guy. He wasn't the rookie that we were all supposed to be focusing on, right? He was probably the third one in that defensive secondary.
He wasn't even the rookie corner that they were supposed to be. Like there were two of them ahead of him.
Two other
we're supposed to worry about.
Right. I mean, Brian Cook probably got more run, so he's probably like the fourth guy that we really talked about in the secondary. Like, oh yeah, there's also Jalen Watson, because we talked about Joshua Williams, we talked about Trent McDuffie. Obviously, it's crazy to think that this defense is doing what this defense is doing without Trent McDuffie, without their number one pick. We talk about this rookie class all the time, and without their number one pick in the draft, and it's just like mind blowing. Anyway. I'm excited to see Trent McDuffie back out there. Jalen Watson on the defense has been a nice addition, but that just continues the trend of Brett Veach being able to find corners, being able to find secondary players in low rounds in undrafted ways. I think he was a sixth rounder. I want to say off the top of my head, it might have been a seventh rounder. I can't remember. He was a day 3 pick regardless. Jalen Watson was. And getting him to come on in and contribute, getting to pick 6. Bill Barnwell, we talked about this on Outside the Trenches today. Bill Barnwell put him in his top 3 for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And that's crazy to think about. That's not even like one of the rookies that you would anticipate to be on that list.
Yeah, I think he was like pick 243. Like he was late, semi-late in the 7th round. A guy that the defensive start's the number one standout for me. Like just being able to, of all units, people thought the Chiefs were going to have to be brought along slowly, but far much more confidence in the offense figuring it out early on than the defense. Imagine where the Chiefs defense would be if it was struggle, or where the Chiefs would be if the defense struggled against the Chargers or struggled immensely against Tampa. Like the offense, again, 4-game sample size, the defense start definitely jumping out to me. I also think the run game, I'm with you on that. It seems like the quality can be somewhat consistent there. The quantity is not going to be. The volume's not going to be there. The Chiefs under Andy Reid are never going to be that team that's going to run the ball 30 times a game or 25 times a game even, or whatever. But the quality of a 1-2 punch of Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco, I think that can exist. The quality of Clyde Edwards-Helaire having a good year can exist, I think. Yeah. The quality of Isaiah Pacheco coming in and running angry and getting the most out of both of them, I think that can exist. Now, the play calling has to be consistent. The line has to stay healthy. If they're running RPOs, Mahomes has to make the right calls, all that stuff. But I do think that early in a season where a lot still has to be figured out, both of those things, I think, stand out in a good way.
Absolutely. Looking ahead at this next question here from Grayson Jasper. Assume McColl finishes with his normal 600-ish yards this year. What would his contract look like elsewhere? What would it look like if the Chiefs resign him? Man, it's tough. This is a tough question. I don't know what his contract would look like. It's obviously going to be dependent of the market. It's going to, because you had like a Christian Kirk guy sign and screw up the whole market. It could be something like that again, where somebody signs and screws up the whole market. So then McCole Hardman is going to raise his price. Not his fault. It's not his fault for wanting more money when just the market depends on it. I don't know if his potential can be maximized in Kansas City. I think that for McCole Hardman's career, personally, I think it would be better if he went elsewhere and tried to go elsewhere in another system. Not that I'm not saying that I don't like McCole Hardman. I think McCole Hardman is a fine football player. I just think his potential could be maximized more in a different system, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I went on Spotrac. How do you pronounce it, Tucker? And I
I
know
say
there's a right
spot
way,
track.
probably. I do too. Okay, so I
Yeah.
went on Spotrac. They compared him to 4 players. Do you want to guess the 4?
Oh wow.
If you get one of them right, I'll be impressed.
So 4 other
I'll
wide
give you 4
receivers.
guesses. Yeah.
Okay, like McCole Hardman.
And it takes into account like age, statistical production, like stuff like that. So there's a lot of it's not a one-to-one comparison.
Okay, my first thought was it could compare him to Debo, and I think that that's not fair to Debo.
No.
But I could see something like that with a guy with kind of multiple and air quote positions. Just
Got 3
basically running
more.
McCole Hardman from the backfield. Do you wanna give me a
Contract
hint, or
values in there too, if that helps.
are they
So it's no one
AFC?
getting paid a ton.
Okay, Nelson Aguilar.
Close. Nope. 0 for 2.
Um, no one getting paid a ton. You said age has to do with it too, right?
Yes. Yeah. No
McCole
one's like
was
hashtag old or anything.
okay. I think you're just gonna have to tell me.
Yeah.
Uh,
So Kendrick Bourne is making 3 years, 15 million bucks. Braxton Berrios on a 2 for 12. Cedric Wilson on a 3 for 22. And MVS on
Huh.
a 3 for 30. So they value McCole Hardman at 4 years, 33.7 million. So 8.4 on the open market. The high end, I looked at like the wide receiver chart to see who was making what. Russell Gage is on a 3 for 30.
Mm.
Tim Patrick is on a 3 for 30. Zay Jones is a 3 for 24. So like I don't think he's getting 12 million bucks per year. I also don't think he gets like 6 million bucks per year. So I don't know if the middle ground there is 8, if it's 10, if it's 9. I think it also depends, like you said. Some team out there probably thinks they can unlock McCall Hardman,
Yeah.
quote unquote, and turn him into a 1,000-yard productive guy every year. I don't think the Chiefs are that team. So I kind of differ on that. I don't know.
I could definitely see an 8 to 10 evaluation for him in APY. Which is good for McCole. I mean, if McCole gets that, I'd be happy for him.
Yeah.
I don't think the Chiefs pay that though.
No.
I don't think the Chiefs pay 8 to 10. All right, let's let's look at this next question from Grayson Jasper. What mid to late round running back would you compliment Clyde/Pacheco in this year's draft, assuming Jet doesn't come back? Brennan McNichol, he responded with please say Deuce Vaughn, which fun. Deuce Vaughn is very
Yeah.
fun. I watched him run all over my Missouri Tigers in person. I like him as a running back. Running backs wise, I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention. Maddie and I do that college show. I don't know if you guys don't know. Maddie and I do a college show where every Saturday talk about the local games and talk about some of the matchups that we like and the prospects that we like in those games. That's on our KCSNU YouTube channel. You can go check that out at KCSNU, wherever you watch your YouTube on YouTube. So you can find that there. We go over that. I really pay attention to the DNs and tackles. That's usually a lot of the guys that we talk about just because that's probably who the Chiefs are going to take in the first round as a D end or a tackle. But Jordan, do you know any big running backs? I think Deuce Vaughn's actually a pretty decent one.
Yeah, I had 3. Deuce Vaughn was 1. I like Travis Dye from USC. He
Oh, yeah.
transferred there, stayed in instead of entering the draft or whatever. He had a bunch of reports. Good contact balance, good burst, breaks a lot of tackles. I think I saw a stat. It was like a PFF thing the other day. He has like 15 missed tackles in Deuce this year. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Eric Gray from Oklahoma. He is like very, I guess balanced is the word, but I also think he has a really low ceiling. He doesn't have great top end speed. He would be like literally in the question, a guy to be a compliment. Like can do a
Yeah.
little bit of everything. You can trust him to be on the team. He's not going to have to be a practice squad guy. Jet McKinnon is, I believe, over 30 now. He might be exactly 30, but he's technically over. I don't think he's back next season. I do think Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets one more year, obviously on that rookie deal, and the Chiefs keep him. I think Isaiah Pacheco starts to potentially be that guy, depending on what he does the rest of the year. Then you bring in another young running back, insulate that group. I think one of those two guys would be pretty interesting.
Yeah. I like that too. The only other running back that I really know off the top of my head is Bijan Robinson. I think he's probably gone before mid rounds. But he's probably he's not a first round pick, but he's probably gone before that what is it, mid to late round is what Grayson said. Yeah, he's probably gone before then. All right. From C. Larson 12. If McDuffie comes back playing well, do you think Fenton becomes the fourth corner, or does Spags stay with the veteran over Watson? I'm going to err on the side of Spags is probably not going to play a rookie all that much if he doesn't have to. That's kind of where I side on that things. That's where I would set my expectations. Do I want him to play Watson over Fenton? Yeah, I do, but I'm just going to set my expectations to the fact that Watson might not get as much time.
I'm a toss-up on it. I genuinely think this might be the year that, like, and it's not like Jalen Watson's been prime Darrelle Revis or anything thus far this season, but he's been good. And Rashad Fenton has been noticeably bad at several points this year. So I'm not going to say that they're going to try to claim that he's still recovering from his injury or whatever, that he's rusty, yada, yada. Rashad Fenton's track record is proven. He's been a very solid cornerback for years now, but Watson gives you more size, I think a better athletic profile, a higher ceiling. He's a playmaker. Fenton seems to get grabby and get called for penalties more often than some other cornerbacks. So with all that said, it's Steve Spagnuolo we're talking about. So, I mean, it could be that he defers to Fenton. But I'm going to go, obviously, McDuffie and Snead are going to be those top two guys. I'm going to say it's a toss-up for the sake of a fun pod. I'll say that he sticks with Jalen Watson, but it definitely is not a foregone conclusion because, again, we're talking about Spags.
Right. I would love to see a bunch of rookies out there, but that's just not how Spags works. And you should know that by now.
Unless you draft all rookies, then you don't have a choice.
Right.
But
you force him to play a rookie.
Choices. Yeah.
Unless you don't re-sign Ben Neiman and don't re-sign Dan Sorensen, so he's forced to play Brian Robinson and Leo Chenal. That's weird. That'd be weird if that happened. Anyway, Grayson Jaspers, he asked, what does a L'Jarius Sneed extension look like? I would have to go to Spot Track. Do you have the Spot Track pulled up?
I don't. I should have done the valuation. My logic, and I'm going to steal from Connor Christopherson, my good friend here. 3 for $40 seems about right. Considering you're adding on to the rookie deal, it'd be an early extension. Adoree Jackson's making $13 million a year. DJ Reed's making $11 million a year. Kendall Fuller's making $10 million a year. I think he gets double digits for sure. He is. I just don't know what the value for a unique big slot, blitzing, heady, young, important cornerback is. I know the Chiefs haven't paid those players historically. They're cornerbacks. They don't shoot. Charvarius Ward just walked out and got paid, rightfully so. But at a certain point, if you're not paying anybody else, you might as well pay the guy who's better at what he does in some specific areas than any other cornerback in the NFL. So I'm going to say 3 for $40. That's just a ballpark. I don't think he breaks the bank or anything, but about like 12, 13 million a year sounds about right for me.
Yeah, it'd be pretty close to that. I'm not as good as at navigating Spot Track as I thought I was. So I'm still trying to figure that evaluation out, or the kind of where he would be at. But he's really earned himself. He's really played himself into top corner in this league. He's made himself into a guy that'll probably be highly regarded going into his contract here, right? What do you got?
He doesn't have a valuation. I guess that must be for contract year guys, which I guess is fair because he's still young. But he doesn't have one, so it's not a Tucker problem at all.
Because I thought it just shows up like on his main page, like when you click on
it. It's like one of those tabs, and Hardman had it, and I was like, where the hell is Snead? And then I expanded and still not there. So maybe next year he'll have one of those, and it'll say, 30 million or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, what I think Matty Lane brought this point up on the lab. I think it was on Monday, where he said, like, this is gonna sound dumb, but you take the coverage ability out of it, L'Jarius Sneed's like a top corner in the game because of everything else that he does. And he's also pretty good at coverage. So like that's another thing too, is like he's pretty good at the coverage part of it, but he can also tackle really well. He can blitz really well. He can tackle in space really well. So like, there's a lot of the good things that L'Jarius Sneed does. He can play himself into a good spot there for a contract. Hey, sorry to interrupt today's podcast, but I have to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. First one being Liquid Death. You've heard us talk about this company all the time here on Kansas City Sports Network. Here at KCSN, we love Liquid Death, and when I'm looking through the bottled water section of my local store, and I say, oh, what are those strange tall boys up there? I know it's Liquid Death, and you might look at it and be like, wait, what is that up there? Kind of rad-looking cans. It's Liquid Death. And it's spring water from the Alps. It's not beer, and it is called Liquid Death. Yeah, that name jumps off the can. The can design, everything. I would show you a can, but I don't have one because I've drank all of them. I've drank everything that they've given me at Liquid Death because it's so delicious, because it absolutely murders your thirst. That's why it's called Liquid Death. It murders your thirst. And not only does it murder your thirst, but it brings death to plastic bottles. I hate plastic pollution. You hate plastic pollution. Their infinitely recyclable tall boy aluminum cans help bring death to that as well, that pollution. And they donate 10% of their profits to help kill plastic pollution. Another good thing about the folks over at Liquid Death. And let me tell you, they've got, I believe, 4 different flavors that you can get. No, 5 if you talk about their flavored sparkling waters. They've got a berry, they've got a mango, they've got a lime. All of them are very good. As a guy who drinks sparkling water myself, love the Liquid Death versions of them. Make sure you go check those out. They have just a still water, which is the water from the Alps. Kind of weird to be drinking out of a can, but it feels good to be drinking out of a can because you're doing good for the environment. And they also have just a regular sparkling water if you want to add it to your mixed drinks, maybe. Have it be a little bit of a beverage mixer you could have there with your Liquid Death. But they've got all kinds of things, and you can go find it at your local Woodman's, 7-Eleven, Roundy's, or Hy-Vee. Or, here's what you can do. You can go and find a Liquid Death retailer near you using code KCSN. That's liquiddeath.com/KCSN. Go to that website, find a Liquid Death retailer near you. That's liquiddeath.com/KCSN. All right, I've also got to tell you about our friends at Trade Coffee. Trade is another one of those companies that we've been talking to you about a lot here at Kansas City Sports Network. And if you know me, if you're anything like me, I don't drink coffee a whole lot. I got a sensitive stomach. But when I do drink coffee, I want it to be the best quality coffee out there. I want it to be the best of the best. And, I couldn't tell you exactly what makes a good cup of coffee, but the folks of Trade Coffee do know what makes a good cup of coffee, and they give me good cups of coffee every single time. I can't deny it. I mean, they're great. They're great at what they do. And so let me tell you about Trade Coffee. If you've been listening, you know about Trade. It's a coffee subscription service unlike anything you've tried before because they partner with top independent roasters to freshly roast and send the best coffees in the country directly to your home on a preferred schedule. Their team of experts do the work, taste testing hundreds of coffees from across the United States every month to curate over 450 exceptional coffees that make the cut. Here's the really cool thing. We at KCSN have a collection. So the coffee I get from Trade is so good. I can't believe, how well they picked it for me. And if you kind of want the same taste that I've got, or you want to know what we're getting, you can go to tradecoffee.com/KCSN. Go check out our own custom collection that we have right there. Go check it up. If it's not up your alley, don't worry about it because Trade will have whatever you want. You could take a quiz. This is one of my favorite things. You could take a quiz. They personalize the coffee just for you. You go by roast, however you prepare your coffee, how you like to take your coffee, and their coffee profile quiz will get you expertly matched with coffees that you will love. Trade is the easiest way to get your very best in fresh tasting coffee delivered to you fresh when you need it. So if you want to support small businesses and brew the best cup of coffee you've ever made at home, it's time to try Trade Coffee right now. Trade is offering our listeners a total of $30 off their first home order plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/KCSN. That's drinktrade.com/KCSN for $30 off your subscription to the best coffee in the country. Now let's get back to today's show. So let's move on to Zach. Easy concept foam McGorkin. This is where we kind of get off the rails here, getting a little off the rails. We gave you 25 minutes of serious Chiefs podcasting. Let's get a little loose. We'll get some more Chiefs questions in here, but we're gonna get a little loose here, Jordan. Top 7 specific ingredients for the best burrito.
Buddy, I don't know really. Like I don't. We're not talking breakfast burrito. We're not talking like we didn't specify. So I'm just gonna go with my Chipotle order, and I have 7 ingredients. I'm gonna go obviously excluding the tortilla. That's a given. Brown rice, pinto beans, chicken, mild salsa, corn salsa, shredded cheese. Oh, take out lettuce. I was gonna say lettuce, but I want sour cream in there too. So I'd take out lettuce and put in sour cream, and I think that'd be a pretty good burrito.
Trying to think what my order is. I put way too many. I take more than 7 ingredients. I go rice, double the steak at Chipotle. This is my Chipotle
Okay,
order. This is basically what
Karlaftis.
this is turned into. Yeah, Karlaftis does triple steak.
Triple steak, yeah.
Dropped an F-bomb. Sorry, Jordan. You have to edit that out. I'll show you how to do that later. Triple the steak, and he does double the rice, I'm pretty sure, too. Insane order from George Karlaftis. Then I go with the black beans. I go. I like. Is it the mild salsa? Is that what it is? But I just like the pico.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. I like the pico. So that's 4 ingredients. The 5th ingredient I gotta have guac and I gotta have cheese. Like those. That's 5 and 6. Guac's hit or miss for people. Tara's allergic to guac.
Yeah, it's like you either love avocado or you absolutely hate it. And I'm in the latter camp.
Oh, I go corn, and then I think lettuce as well. So that's 8. Don't take away lettuce. Just corn. This last one. Yeah. That's my Chipotle order, which turns into the burrito ingredients. Thank you, Zach, for that question. Adam Harney, if you had to pick between Clyde and McColl, whose option is more likely to get picked up? Jordan, first reaction, and then I'll let you explain after I say mine.
Yeah, first reaction, Hardman doesn't have one because he was a 2nd-round pick. So I thought about it at first, and then once you said it, I was like, wait a second. Hardman wasn't like the Chiefs maybe overdrafted just a little bit, but I don't think he has an option. It'd be Clyde, and definitely I don't even know what that number would be, but because he hasn't lived up to the hype of a 1st-round pick, you can't pick up either of those. Even if Hardman was a 1st-round pick, I definitely wouldn't pick up either of them, I don't think.
Yeah, I pick up Clyde.
Really?
Yeah, I think you pick it up just because of
just for fun.
You buy yourself an extra year.
What do you think that is? We can keep talking. I'm gonna look up what the option is.
Yeah, I was trying to do it at the same time as I was talking. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what he's at right now. I'm not very good with contract stuff, admittedly.
All right, 5th-year option tracker. Here we go. Projections. So we're getting warmer here. Okay. Of course, a live lookup. There are no running backs off this list. Oh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they said the basic one would be $5 million, 5.5 million. He's not going to make a Pro Bowl. So yeah, it'd be 5.5.
Yeah, whatever. That buys you another year to find a running back.
It's not as bad as I thought. That's really not terrible.
Yeah, not a lot of one of my favorite stats is like running backs miss an average of like 2.5 games a season. Yeah. And like running backs are pretty interchangeable. It's just how good your offensive line is. So it doesn't matter where you draft them or where you pick them or where you get them from. If you got a good move, I mean, you saw Isaiah Pacheco. That's a 7th-round pick. Being a dog on running the football. So, yeah. I mean, I think you pick it up to try to maybe buy yourself another year. But after that, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe another team wants to buy him. Maybe another team wants to sign not Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All right. This one is from Zach again. Oh, yeah. Zach said McColl doesn't have one. He's right.
Good job, Zach.
Thanks, Zach. Should have read that before we went on that whole podcast answer. David Borland, this question may be better deeper into the year. Every year, KC seems to sign a former high pick that was out of football due to injury or other reason. Dorsey even did this before Veach. So far, I don't think any have paid off, but I like the strategy, low risk, high reward possibilities. Who might you sign in this category? I've seen some people throw out some names. Jordan, do you have any off the top of your head?
Buddy, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I even looked at this question and I was like, I don't know. It's just hard to keep track of who's out of the league. And like the natural answer, regardless of where he was drafted, I don't really remember, would be Antonio Brown. And like the Chiefs
boy.
are not, neither are we picking up Antonio Brown, nor are the Chiefs picking up Antonio Brown. So, I mean, that is kind of there. You could cheat and say like Odell, I guess, because he's been out of the league since February, but it's an injury thing and he'll be back here in a little bit. So I don't know, man. It's kind of tough. Like those guys usually you would think aren't worth investing in. I hate to say it, but for one reason or another, it's like wasn't Kelvin Benjamin one of those guys, and he had like one catch against the Chargers on Thursday Night Football, and they lost. And then, yeah, I don't really have anybody in mind.
I was trying to find. I don't remember where Andy Isabella was drafted at, but I know a lot of people in Kansas City liked Andy Isabella. He was. I'm googling it right now. I couldn't remember his name. He was in the 2019 second round, so he's a second rounder in the 2019 draft out of UMass at Amherst. Great school. But so I went to the Cardinals transaction report. Do you know who else they signed to their practice squad this week?
Give me a hint. Is it another wideout?
He used to be on the Chiefs, and he used to be on the Chiefs very recently.
Not Matt Amendola.
It is Matt Amendola.
That's really
exactly who it is. Yeah, they signed the Arizona Cardinals saw him and said, "Yeah, we want to give him a shot." Good for Matt Amendola. Good for him.
Small sample size. He could be good. He had another small sample size where he was, prime Justin Tucker, and then he turned into Lynn Elliott. So
yeah, it's true. In that Chargers game, we thought he was the second coming, which not all takes are good takes. Let's be fair here. If the Chiefs do win a Super Bowl, though, he might get a ring. I think
that's a good one. Not all takes are good takes.
It is true, if I could say so myself. Okay, next question here. This one's from Andy Nagel. Haven't seen much of Turk this season. Is he not getting time, or is he just not making plays? The little I have noticed him hasn't been great. What I think is really interesting about Turk, I think it says a little bit more about this defensive line and the versatility that like Mike Dana has of playing on the inside. Chris Jones is obviously a stud. Colin Saunders has been playing a whole lot better this year. They've got some dudes. Derek Nottie, obviously. They've got some dudes on the inside, but you want to see Turk in those pass rushing downs, those pass rushing situations. And I'm trying to look up his Pro Football Reference page real quick to kind of see his snap counts because, like, Andy, you're right, dude. Like, I can't remember seeing Turk a whole lot on the field. Jordan, do you recall any like snaps from Turk this year?
I'm gonna read these off, and you're not gonna believe them. Defensively, he has played 51%, 43%, 54%, 66%. I knew he played a lot against Tampa because they were spending a lot of time in their pass rush and pass defending sub packages. But to say that he has played that much this season, this is a guy that he's played 48% of the snaps in 2020, 45 last year, and 53 this year. So he is the most like I don't want to say overutilized, but like compared to expectations or like memory, that is a cluster in your mind, right? Because I would guess he played 25%, like a Colin Saunders type number. He's played half the snaps this year.
I'm very befuddled by that. I'm looking at these numbers in front of me right now.
Derek Nottie's been healthy. Like Derek Nottie has not disappeared or anything.
All right. 51, 43, 54, 66. I'm looking up. I'm trying to live look this up right now too. Jordan did the pro move of like reading ahead and preparing for this podcast, and I just kind of, go. I just go with it. I just gotta
make a good first impression, right?
Right, fair. I want to give you guys my gut reactions. You get my reactions to everything that we got. I'm trying to see here who's played the most defensive snap percentage, like on the defensive line. Karlaftis 74% this year. If you would have asked me that, I probably wouldn't have got that number. I think that's pretty high. Frank Clark at 69, Chris Jones at 77. But other than that, I mean, Tershawn Horton's number 4 on the defensive line.
Good grief.
Nick Bolton playing 93% of the snaps. Oh my word.
He's a
Love this.
trooper. He
Yeah,
is a trooper.
Rashad Fenton, 91%. Shout out L'Jarius Sneed for 97. Yeah, dude, I would not have guessed that. I hope, Andy, that
Mhm.
you are as shocked as I am. Assuming by your question that you are going to be as shocked as I am, because if you would have told me that he's played the third most snaps, like let's just see numbers wise on the defensive line. Yeah, third most behind, well, Chris Jones has played 213. George Karlaftis is 205. Frank Clark 191, and then Tershawn Harper. So he's fourth. Which I guess makes sense. Has he started every game this year? I gotta look that up now too. Does Pro Football Reference take
Nope.
account of starts?
No,
No,
he has
yeah.
started 2 games in his whole career.
So hasn't started, but has had this high
But
percentage.
he's in.
We've gone down a I did it again, Jordan. My bad. We've gone down a Tershawn Wharton rabbit hole. That I did not think that we were going to go down today. Which, fine. This is what you get when you sign up for 21 questions. Trent Millsap. Here we go. If blank was an Olympic sport, you'd win a gold medal. What goes in blank for each of you? Probably for me, easy. Chugging seltzers. I'd win a gold medal in seltzer chugging.
Being bad at sports betting. We were
Oh, yeah.
We were talking before I came on. I am 14 and 54 all time so far, which shows that I've placed quite a few bets in my short time here, and also haven't gone very well, man. And like I try these parlays because I see them on Twitter. I want to hit big. I want to get the $1 million or the $100,000 or the $1,000 or any of that. I've gotten negative bucks now that my promo credits are up and all my $5 bets have effectively missed. Haven't been spending as much of my own money for sure. But I think so far I would get like easy gold medal in being bad at sports betting.
Trying to see what my record. I have a spreadsheet that I keep all of my my gambling active. I was on an incredible cold streak. I think I was telling you, Jordan, was like 1 for the last 15 or something like that.
That's just a common week for me, Tucker.
I've placed a total of, let's see, 55 plus 45.
100.
Oh,
Even
that's 100. No, 102 because I did 2 MLB bets that I missed. Both of them I think were Aaron Judge home run bets. Yeah, so it looks like that on NFL I'm 17 for 38. NFL's tough. I struggle with NFL. NCAA I'm 21 for 23. I pushed one on the NCAA. That one push was the Arkansas game +2. Missed a field goal to win it. I would have got that win, but yeah, I was my return rate was at like 58% pretty early on. I say early on, but there were a lot of bets that went into that. I was probably about midway through, but I probably was 50 bets in and had like a 58% return rate. But hit that cold streak, brought me down a little bit. But yeah. Let's see here. I gotta get back on track. Mike Denny, if you add your ages together, are you older than Tom Brady?
Not by a lot, dude. You're 25?
24.
I'm 23, so we're 2 years older than Tom Brady.
That's kind of wild. I didn't think it was going to be close. Somebody asked me the other day how old Tom Brady was. And I was like, he's like 40. And they're like, no, dude, he's like 45.
Dude's 45.
And I was like, wait a second. Where did this time go?
And he's still top 10, like clearly top 10. It's insane.
Best quarterback to ever play. I don't even know.
I hate to say it, common Tucker dub. That is the truth.
There's not a debate there. I mean, he's won more Super Bowls than any single franchise has.
Yeah.
It's insane. Okay, sorry, that's enough about Tom Brady. We don't need to talk about him anymore. Fish, I like Jerick McKinnon a lot, but it seems to me that Clyde and Pacheco's running styles are better for goal line carries. What are your thoughts about McKinnon getting some of the goal line carries in the Bucs game? What I like about Jerick McKinnon, triple option quarterback at Georgia Southern. We saw him come into the game and run that little wildcat set. I really enjoyed that. Wouldn't be surprised if he tried to throw the ball one time. I think this is Andy Reid maybe scheming some stuff up. So I like him in the red zone for that ability of it. But I do like Jet on this team because of his pass blocking ability, because of what he adds to the running back room. He's a very complimentary back to the guys like Clyde, like Pacheco. So I don't know necessarily. He's not a goal line back, but like he does definitely have a very solid and very reliable role on this team.
Yeah, no, 100% to everything you said. He shouldn't be getting goal line carries, I don't think. Pacheco's bigger, stronger, faster, and I think has better contact balance from what I've
Yeah.
seen limited in college and in the NFL. Edwards-Helaire, that was one of his main calling cards coming out of college. He's had a couple goal line carries where the success rate hasn't been great, but when he hits, he hits. So I think the highlight of Jerick McKinnon near the goal line was Juju blocking somebody into him and him like
Yeah.
flipping over. Jerick McKinnon doesn't need to be getting goal line carries, but does he need to be completely phased out of the game plan? I don't think so. He's a good pass catcher. He has a little bit of burst still. He's a good pass protector. He knows the offense, it seems. So there's nothing to dislike about Jerick McKinnon himself. The usage and utilization of him is kind of, I think, something you can bring up for sure.
Absolutely. Zach Menerax, favorite integer between 68 and 70, got to be 69.
Yeah. It's a nice answer.
It's a good, nice and good answer. Joel Penfield, what percent of Fenton's snaps get cut when McDuffie comes back? Kind of talked about this a little bit already, but this is more of a percentage number. Jordan, what's your gut reaction?
I just, how often, so many factors go into that, right? Like if they're behind, they're going to be having more guys out there. And how long is it going to take with Watson? Does he trust Watson? He meaning Spags. It's going to get cut into, like, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to get phased out. Like he's going to play,
Right.
I don't know, Tucker, if I had to put it, what would you put a range to it? Like I'll give you a 10% range that you can use, and then I'll see if I agree or disagree.
So the question, what percent of Fenton snaps get cut? So the percentage of, I would say about, my gut reaction was 23% of his snaps get
I was
cut.
going to say like 65 to 70 is like total because he's at what, 91, you said?
Yeah, he's at a lot right now. I still have that tab pulled up, thankfully. 91%. That is, that is a lot of snaps for Rashad Fenton. 251 when it comes to that on the field. So yeah, I'd probably say that he gets cut about 20%, but that's like the optimistic side of me saying like 20 to 25.
Well, and that's also like it comes down to the answer to, do you think Spags is going to play Watson over him? Because if Spags is going to play Watson over him, the number's bigger. So I guess I need to take the over on that. Like, I just don't know. That is a very, very, again, I did kind of screen questions before we came on. That was the one I literally was like, this is tough. Because like you're trying to get in Spags' head. And that's one of the most difficult things to do because you just don't know what that guy's thinking sometimes.
It's very true. This is from ONHT101. What does Jordan like doing more, trolling fools on Twitter or Matthew Stafford? Like doing Matthew Stafford.
I like Matt Stafford a lot, man. I'm kind of fed up with him right now because he's obviously playing poorly. But again, the offensive line's so banged up and McVay hasn't called good plays and Allen Robinson might be a little bit washed up. I still love Matt Stafford, but there's nothing better than getting on Twitter and having a good time. Like my pinned tweet is that meme of, it's not even LeBron actually saying that. It's just a meme of it. At the end of the day, it's just Twitter. It is like, we're there to have a good time. I'm there to have a good time. Usually it's with people. Sometimes it's at people at their expense. We all like memes. We all like trolling. I don't like to use the word trolling as like a thing I'm trying to do, but have fun and clown. Definitely clowning on Twitter is one of my favorite things to do. So I think I love Matt, but I love clowning a little bit more.
I think the one time that I realized that I was actually like trolling is like we was tweeting something about a Chiefs game probably, and PJ's like, "Why'd you tweet that?" And I was like, "I just want to see how people react to it." And he's like, "That's literally the definition of trolling. Like that's
poking the bear. So fun.
Saying something to see how people react to it is trolling." And I was like, "Whoa, yeah, no, I you're right. That's exactly." But I do that sometimes. A lot of things I say on Twitter are very facetious, except my gambling tips. Those are 100% serious. Make sure to go follow me on Twitter at SoccerDFranklin. Follow Jordan on Twitter at Footnoted. I have to sneak that one in there real quick. Isaac Hugh, if you could change the outcome of one play from the season so far, what would it be, Jordan?
I need time to think. I'm giving it to you. You're on the
Okay.
spot.
First thought. The Mahomes. Wait, which interception am I thinking of? The Mahomes interception. I think they won that game. I think it was against the Chargers. Maybe did he have an interception against the Chargers?
I don't.
He has 2 this year, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think
one of them was the one against Tampa where it was just a stupid throw, right?
I think that's the one I was thinking about.
Yeah, and then the other
maybe
one
the Indy
was...
one. I know the Indy one at the end of the game. No, actually, Psych, I take that back. I was too Patrick Mahomes focused in my thinking of plays to take back. It would be the Chris Jones. It'd be the Chris Jones flag, because I guess you could take that back. I'm saying it, you can. I want the result of the play to stay the same, but then I just want Chris Jones to walk the other way.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think I'm gonna have to tail that and say that it's the same pick, because like it's not a foregone conclusion that the Chiefs would have won that game.
Still 5 minutes left in that game, yeah.
Still 5 minutes left, but I would have liked to see what would have happened had that not been the leading contributor in them coming back, or one of the leading contributors in them coming back.
For sure. I think Nick Bolton made a really good point after the game, like saying like, "Hey, if we're a good defense, we get off the field there."
Yeah, exactly.
I think that like he made a really good point there. I was like, Nick, my guy.
You've always been a fan. You've always been supporting Nick Bolton since the beginning.
Every day. I'm a day one fan of Nick Bolton. No one ever knows. Everyone knows that I'm a day one fan of Nick Bolton. I have his signed jersey behind me. Anyway, Mike Denny, another question from him. What seltzer do you guys have the biggest difference of opinion on? Oh, this is...
I am not sure I've ever tried one, to be honest with you.
Well, you did have one seltzer review with me before.
It was
it was cranberry. It sucked.
Was it? Was it a Bud Light Party Pack one?
It's a Bud Light cranberry. Is what they had in the box or the.
And I didn't like it. So
Comets game, yeah, it was bad.
That was the first and only, I believe, that I've had. So I would go. No, I'd take that back. I had the Topo Chico Lime or something one time, and I hated it. So that would have to be the one we disagree on. I had that at the Big 12 tournament, and I absolutely couldn't stand it. So that would be it.
Yeah, Topo Chico. I enjoy them. Mike Denny, I know he's a big Topo Chico fan. He's the one that recommended them to me for the reviews. So yeah, great. This one is from Positive Toasty. What is the GOAT Nintendo game? This will show my age right here. Like you guys already know that. Like Jordan and I, we're young guys. We're the youngins here at KC Sports Network. I really like the Mario baseball game that they had on the Wii.
Okay.
I know that that's like not like Mario 64 or whatever, and you can get upset at me for that, but like that Mario baseball game slapped.
NFL Quarterback Club 90. No. Never mind. NBA Hang Time. That was so freaking fun on the N64. I used to absolutely dog my little brother on that game. I got an N64 when I was like 5, I think. Then I got a PS2. I didn't get a PS1 at all.
Yeah.
Jumped to PS2 when I was 8. Xbox 360. Didn't get Xbox original. Then the OGs went PS2, 360, PS4, I think. I now have an Xbox One. So, NBA Hang Time.
Let's see. I think I had a GameCube when I was like really little.
Ooh, that's a veteran. I had a DS in there too somewhere.
Yeah, I had a DS. I had a Game Boy too. One of the little, but like just console wise, I had a GameCube. I'm pretty sure. Then we went PS1, PS2. Didn't get the PS3. I went from PS2, I think, to Xbox 360, and then a 360 to the PS4, and PS4 to I have an Xbox One Series X. I think is what it is. Is what I have now, and I'm gonna play some. I like PGA Tour on that game. That game's fun. Tough to read the greens, but
it's so hard.
Tough to read the greens in real life. So I like the challenge. Yeah, that's what I play right now on Xbox.
Are you the oldest kid in your family?
Yes, I am. Oldest of 4. Or oldest. Okay. I'm counting myself 4.
Sure.
So yeah.
Me and my brother James. He's 16 months, 15 months. Like we're fairly close. but just enough to where I'm clearly the big bro around here. I would, I didn't need to share this story, but I would play him like Madden or 2K, any game on any console. I'd get out to a huge lead. I'd let him come all the way back, and then I'd beat him on the final play just to piss him off because I knew I could do it. It was just absolute torture. He would cry. I'd get in trouble. But it was well worth it because, competitive prick does competitive prick stuff, and I always won.
It's true. All right, let's end on this one, Jordan. We're going to end on a Chiefs question. This is from Jackie. Is Raiders week going to be when Karlaftis gets his first sack? I'm doing it. I'm planting the flag. Yes, it is. Go ahead. Head to your DraftKings Sportsbook. Go to the player props on the defensive special teams. Go find George Karlaftis over 0.75 sacks. Hammer that sucker. Hammer George Karlaftis. He's getting a sack this week. It's going to be a bloodbath. The Chiefs are going to be all over Derek Carr. Derek Carr's not going to be able to throw the ball. It's going to be ugly for the Raiders offense. George Karlaftis starts his defensive rookie of the year claim right here this week in Arrowhead against the Raiders when the lights are bright on Monday Night Football. Done. Hammer it.
I think it's possible, man. He's come close, dude. He's gotten really close. He's had one heck of a start. I know that pressure rate has to turn into sacks at some point. I totally get it. I understand. Karlaftis has been close. And if there's one thing we know him to have, it's a really good motor and it's really good will to get it done. What better way to do that than against a spaz quarterback when he gets under pressure? And Derek Carr, Carr's going to hold on to the ball. He's going to try to make stuff happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think George Karlaftis gets that first career sack. That may not be the story for the Chiefs defense, but it's going to be the story for rookies for the Chiefs defense in week 5.
Absolutely, Jordan. I appreciate you hopping on this episode of 21 Questions. Go give Jordan a follow on Twitter at Footnoted. It's foot with an E. It goes off his last name. Get it? It's a play on words. Go follow him on Twitter at Footnoted. Follow me on Twitter at Tucker D. Franklin. Lots of stuff coming for you on KC Sports Network. We'll be live after the game, breaking it all down for you. BJ Kissel, Kent Swanson, and Maddie Lane will break the game down after a Chiefs victory. I'm going to say it. After a Chiefs victory, it's going to be a fun time after the show. So for Jordan, I'm Tucker Franklin. We will catch you guys next week. Thank you to Macadoodles for sponsoring this fine program here. Make sure to check them out once they get into the Kansas City area. They got a store opening in Jeff City soon too. So if you're in that area, you're in luck. You got Macadoodles coming to you. So until next week, we'll talk to you then.